All right.
So we are now live, so to speak. So I just wanted to kind of go over where we were at from the past week. So I'm going to just go through the list of kind of the different, I call them product owners. Basically, the people that were that kind of volunteered to be in charge of things. So I don't think everyone's here. Well, for the most part, people are here. But Sean, I know you guys were kind of talking about coordinating. But do you have any kind of updates on the lecture material side of things?
So what I was working on is um I have this in Rome. I don't know exactly how I could share it, but basically I was just working through the curriculum. You had like variables, syntax statement, operators, like just the basic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so my idea for the lecture material, and maybe I wasn't exactly sure, I guess, what it meant to come up with the lecture material, but my idea was like just to look at very simple examples of variables at play,
Sure.
or programming concepts. So like I was looking at the interfaces from Pokemon battles, and basically like you could look at the health or the experience or the level or like the sprites or the status effects, like the names, and just kind of like walk through like that this is a variable and like it can do this, like you could add it or subtract it, and kind of just use like what people already know about video games to try and like get them to actually latch on to those concepts.
Okay. That's an interesting. That's an interesting approach. I think that's really novel. Um, we can definitely test that out. Do you have it with you, or would it be in a state that's at least? It doesn't have to be like presentable per se, but like, do we have like a PowerPoint or anything like that yet, or just kind of just
not a
ideas?
not a PowerPoint. Yeah, it's like notes in this note taking app called Rome, basically.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, that's fine. We don't need it for today necessarily, but that's a good update though. I like the idea. Any feedback for Sean? What do you guys think about the idea?
Uh, I think it's cool. I mean, my own says I like to do stuff like that as well. Take something they're familiar with and try to break it down in concepts. So if I understand Sean's idea right, we'd basically like show them like a Pokemon Battle UI and point to the different things that could be variables, like the Pokemon's health, the sprite, the name, etc. Right?
Yeah. I
Okay.
could try and share my screen here.
Okay.
I'm on like a laptop and a computer, so I don't. Maybe I'll just send a screenshot. Um, I'll just throw it in comms. So that was like, yeah. I mean, it turns out there's actually like everything's kind of like a variable in a way, but I was just thinking, yeah, like you could like point to each one of these things and discuss like, yeah, just like discuss these concepts basically. So having
Hmm.
like a visual aid seems dope. And then T-Push has like the demos or like the actual project. So what I was thinking is like whatever I'm working on is like explaining these concepts, and then those like actual projects are like the other half of the lecture where people are like applying it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. One question on the lecture. So we have variables, but are we talking about conditionals, loops, that kind of things for the first workshop?
I think I saw selections on the slideshow.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I would hope that we can talk about kind of like some basic, at least like control flow and like maybe some loops potentially.
I mean,
Even if
how
it's
long
just
is the
brief.
first workshop going to be? Sorry, I'm interrupted, but how long is the first workshop going to be?
It's gonna be about 3 hours.
Okay, then yeah, we can definitely touch all these like array, all the basic stuff, arrays, functions.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so our dude who's gonna join is just about ready, so let's we'll come back to that. How about we get an update on the exercises from T-Push?
Yeah, sure. So I've been working with Exa on this. So far we've made a couple changes, mostly on the formatting for the exercise, so it's not too confusing. Because at first I tried to stick too much to the PEP 8 stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and we try to streamline it. So, like for example, your print is only on one line, so people wouldn't be confused with the line breaks and everything. So just make it simpler. The other thing is that Exa made kind of a read the docs page that
Mm-hmm.
would be useful, especially for instructors, to get what we want the flow of the exercises to be. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, the way it would work is you have basic exercises that build on top of each other and then lead up to the like final exercise that you would see in the repo. And so basically, in the read the docs link that I will post right now, there's an explanation of how do we get to the end result through the workshop,
Mm-hmm.
and like what kind of like mechanics we want to introduce them to, etc. There was the question from Exa for the advanced exercise. We have some kind of ideas, but we wanted to share them and see how you would uh, how you would like them. So basically, like two things. The first thing would be kind of take home assignments when the workshop is finished. So basically, like ways you could improve or build on top of a existing project you have at the end of the workshop.
Mm-hmm.
And the other part of the advanced exercises would be changes in the implementation during the exercise. Like, let's say someone has already finished the exercise and is ahead of other people. Then we could ask him to do basically the same thing, but re-implement it using a different construct. Like, for example, instead of using a while loop, using a for loop, or I don't know, for the game we made, adding input variables or things like that. So it wouldn't change the main goal of the exercise. It would just like give them some stuff to think about while others are catching up, while still making the same product at the end.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I posted the read the docs link, and I post also the GitHub link. By the way, if anyone needs access to the GitHub, let me know. I'll add you to the organization.
Okay. Yeah, I think everyone's at it at this point, but just in case, it's good.
Yeah.
So
So just one last thing. So if you want to see the actual exercise, you need to go to Sandbox and go to Game. I made the quiz, but it seems like we're going on the game, so I keep the quiz in there just in case. But we'll probably do the game for the first workshop then.
okay, yeah, that sounds good to me. Um, cool. So with that being said, I think that covers the majority of the people that are here. Yeah, so we'll try to do this type of thing where we have kind of what's called an agile stand-up meeting, where every meeting for maybe the first 10-15 minutes we'll just kind of go around and like the different product owners, quote unquote, will kind of give their update for their part of the project. And it would be nice if we could meet more often, but I know that there's kind of like time constraints, and there's a volunteer thing, but we'll try to make it work with the time that we have. And you guys can always coordinate outside of these meeting times as well. uh, it'll probably be more effective that way. But if you ever need anything logistically, just feel free to reach out to me, and I'll try to help coordinate things. um, in the meantime,
Sorry to interrupt. I was just looking on my GitHub. I don't I know you invited me to the project, but I'm not seeing any notifications on my GitHub.
Check your emails. Otherwise, send me your GitHub name. I'll try to add you again.
Sure.
Okay. Cool. So yeah, we'll get that worked out. But for now, I think we're gonna bring in our friend Penguin. I don't know if you guys have ever interacted with him. He reached out to me in a DM and kind of expressed his interest in the status of the workshop. So I told him like, hey, if you're interested, we're trying to get some feedback on like our teaching and stuff like that, and like we also want to teach how to teach, I guess, or give the opportunity to interact with someone in this type of environment. So um, we're gonna bring him in if he can actually. I don't see him. He said that he joined a voice channel. Let me get back with him. Let's see. Name is Penguin on Pixie Dust. Okay. Okay, I got him. Trying to drag him with my trackpad. Come on, Discord. Discord just really doesn't want me to drag him. Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Penguin, do you have permissions to talk here? I actually don't know. He might not actually have permissions. I'll just give him the role temporarily. Can you unmute now, Penguin?
You might have to leave and rejoin, maybe.
Yeah. Let me try moving him. There we go. Penguin, are you there? Hello? You're lighting up, but I don't see. I mean, we can't hear you. Can anyone else hear him?
Nope. I see his mic lighting up though. But
Yeah, same.
Weird.
Could it be like a push to talk thing?
No, he has the same permissions as us.
Yeah, but it could be like his on his end, like if he has push to talk. I'm not sure.
Oh, he sent me something, I guess. Oh no.
Oh yeah, maybe your mic is muted, like the mic on your headset.
Can you hear us, Penguin? Send me a DM if you can hear. Okay. I don't even know if you can hear us. This is weird.
Does he have listen permissions in here? He has the role.
Yeah, he has the same role as us.
Weird. Maybe he should leave the channel. Try maybe like restarting Discord.
Maybe.
Wait, he said he can't hear us?
I mean, I don't know. He hasn't said anything. Huh. Try leaving and then rejoin. Oh, okay. He can't hear us. I don't know why I'm talking. Hello.
Hi.
Okay,
Oh.
there we go.
There you go.
Okay, saved.
Oh.
Yeah, that was weird. Yeah, so
Huh?
basically we're just. Oh, you're kind of echoing in the back.
Oh,
Are you on speakers or headphones?
none. I speak. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe try
Is
to
it
set your sensitivity down a bit, or yeah.
up? Yeah. Wait. Okay. Is it better now?
Hello? Hello? Yeah, I think it's good now. Well,
Okay.
Sounds good.
we'll just try to deal with it. We'll make it work. So basically, we kind of just wanted to see where you're at in terms of like how much programming experience you have. I know you said that you actually have a little bit of experience.
Yeah.
And I think that I just didn't clarify that with you. So, but we'll try to see like where you're at. I mean, so we kind of have a somewhat of a curriculum. I'll pull up our page, and then I'll stream. So
Yeah, that's fine.
okay, I'm gonna open up the stream. Okay, can you see the stream?
Where should I look at, or?
So it should say that I'm live on the channel, and you should be able to like click my name and then click join stream.
The Twitch?
I'm sorry? In Discord.
No, in Discord.
Discord.
Yeah, there's actually a streaming feature in Discord now.
Oh. I don't see it.
So it's like on my name. Like it should say like live, and then you should be able to click my name in the channel. Do you see where we are in the channel? Like in the Discord?
Yeah, in the voice channel, I don't see it. It doesn't say live.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Are you on your phone by any chance?
No, I'm on my laptop.
Okay.
Okay, well that makes it difficult. I guess maybe I'll just try to stop and then start again. So do you see, am I at the top of your list in the channel?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you click my name, it should say that I'm sharing my screen. And then you should be able to see join stream. Were you able to join?
No. Yeah, I'll send you a screenshot of what I see.
Did you update might have to update your Discord if you're not on the latest version.
I mean, if this PowerPoint is on the Google Drive, then he should just be able to access it there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, what the heck?
Uh, uh,
Okay, so I'll just. It's just this one slide, anyways. I'll just send you a screenshot.
okay.
Basically, we just have this very simple curriculum for our first workshop. So this is the one that you were kind of interested in participating in. So in terms of programming experience, like what is your prior experience? Like do you know about like arrays and that type of thing, or like what's your knowledge level?
I slightly do know it. I did take a class on it, but the teacher was just so bad. I just knew how to do it. I didn't like learn anything. Like I know how to like copy and paste, basically.
Oh, okay. So was that like your major? Are you like talking in like university or like
It was a community college course.
Oh, okay. Um so how familiar are you with like all this stuff in this list?
I know loops, arrays. I don't know strings. I know functions, not too much. Operators, I slightly know. Variables, I do know. Syntax, I don't know. Basic statement syntax.
Okay.
Um,
Um
that's about it.
yeah, so let's just I already had him install Jupyter Notebook. So are you comfortable like streaming your Jupyter Notebook, and we'll kind of like try to. Well, actually, if you can't see my stream, I'm not sure if you'll be able to stream at all.
Uh, yeah.
Um, that kind of complicates things. We'll just try to walk you through a just kind of an overview, I guess. Then, because I don't know if we'll be able to be very successful with actually getting into the coding, but like, so is your understanding of arrays kind of like it's still not really all there? Like you don't completely understand how to use arrays or what
Yeah,
they're for?
it's basically non-existent.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's honestly I struggled with that too when I was first learning to program. So that's a fairly common issue. Um, man, I wish you could see the stream because it's gonna be so much harder. Uh, he also I asked him beforehand, and he said that he was a more of a visual learner. So I think in this case, having the stream and like having visual things to show him, it was like extremely important.
Could we make like a Zoom room, a Zoom meeting? And do
I'm
that?
not sure if everyone has Zoom. Uh,
Well, I mean, we talked about it the other day. You can use Zoom in the browser.
oh yeah. Okay. Well, we can try it, but it's
Is it possible to do a Twitch stream, or I don't know?
Downside to the Twitch stream is there's a delay, so
Right. Yeah. All right.
Okay. Let's see. The only thing I'm concerned about is like the setup time. I didn't realize that there would be an issue with the Discord stream. So,
Well, Penguin, do you have an update available for your Discord? Maybe like there should be a little download arrow in the upper right corner somewhere.
Oh, I'm using browser, so
that's probably what
that
it
would
is.
be why. Yeah.
Could
did I
you?
download the app?
Yeah, can you
Yeah.
download the desktop version?
Uh,
Yeah, because I think the streaming feature is not available for the browser.
oh, okay.
Yeah. So basically, I knew this was kind of unprepared, and it was almost deliberate in a way. Like I realized beforehand, like it was going to be like this whole meeting was kind of up in the air. But basically, what I wanted to get out of this and out of this meeting was kind of like working in an environment that's like, you know, where you have to improvise type thing. Like we've already ran into like a lot of issues so far. And like this is gonna happen. Like it's just it's the nature of doing anything with you know, streaming or like anything that's gonna utilize someone having to download something. There may be errors, there may be like they thought they downloaded the right thing but they downloaded the wrong thing. And just kind of like going through that stuff I think is also a very important part to know how to navigate whenever you're doing especially online classes. But another thing was also just like being adaptable, even with the teaching style and like teaching material. Like we're gonna have some materials, but you may want to customize them or like even maybe disregard certain slides based on the feedback you're getting from the people that you're trying to teach. I think that's a really important part. And then I wanted to just emphasize the communication aspect of it. Like what's really going to help us, I think, is the pre-entry surveys. So trying to gauge who our audience is and like what their experience is. Like I already made a mistake. I thought Penguin was almost like a complete beginner who's never like read a line of code, but now I just found out that he's actually taken courses before, and that was kind of on me for not asking him if like he had like what's his exact experience. But that also helps too. Like you never know, you may have some people that are taking a course that's not, you know, they didn't know what the contents of the course were, and so they're taking a class that's so easy for them. And like how do you like address those people and still make sure that they get something out of it?
Okay, yeah, I can see the stream now.
Awesome. Okay, so one thing I wanted to just do, I'll probably make a new slide. So arrays is kind of interesting because it's like it's a very fundamental feature of programming that I think unless you understand it fully, like you're kind of like you're operating without one of your most important tools. So it also arrays integrate tightly with loops. So like a lot of your array processing in most languages will involve loops. So one of the things that, let's see if we can. I guess this one. So I don't have any materials prepared, and that's kind of intentional in a way. So basically arrays are just, you can think of them as like a collection or a list of items. So basically arrays are for storing similar, usually in most languages that are, especially when they're strongly typed, like they have specific explicit types for each of their variables. Are you familiar with the typing of languages, Penguin?
Somewhat, yeah. I know only Java.
Okay.
Like, but yeah.
Well, that's perfect because Java is a really strictly typed language, right? So you know how all of your variables in Java are declared with like a type attached to them. So like you have like integers and you have strings. Yeah. So arrays, especially in strictly typed languages, are a collection of usually similar items. This is not always true. Sometimes in other languages that are less strict, you can put all sorts of different items in an array. But just for the sake of simplicity, we're going to say that they're usually similar items. So what is an example of that? Basically, arrays at the fundamental level are just kind of like, I like to think of them as like, what's a good, I want to say buckets, but that's not really a good descriptor.
Maybe let's just say like a cupboard with drawers.
Yeah, so like you have kind of the basic structure of an array is kind of like you have these items that are all like of the same type, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're kind of, it's like a list of them, and each part of these lists, or each index we call them, contains one item, and each index can usually only contain one item. So we basically put them together in this list, and we say that all these guys are more or less the same type of thing, and then we can also reference them by their index. So we kind of give them an identifier for each position, and that allows us to like access or reference each one of these items individually. So we have them as a group, and then we also have like an identifier for each member of the group. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how arrays work fundamentally is the index is usually a number. And because programming, we always start with 0 for some reason. So they're usually 0 indexed, meaning so 0, it starts out with 0. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3. Or sorry, this is 3, this is 4. Wait, there's only 4 items. Yeah, so this is like this. And so if we want to reference this item, we would, whatever this array is called, so if this is called array, this item would be array 0. And that's like a pretty common syntax for this. And this basically allows us to reference each member of the array separately. And that's where you can get into loops and stuff like that. But just fundamentally, knowing that typically arrays are lists of items that are similar, and that they're indexed so that you can reference each item, that's pretty much like where the fundamentals of arrays lie. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm explaining this well. Like I just, it's been so long since I've had to explain arrays, and it's like I was telling the instructor so far, like one of the hardest things to work against is the curse of knowledge. So like once you know something, it's really hard to explain it fundamentally, if that makes sense. Because to you, it just becomes a fundamental.
Yeah, like something easy to you might be difficult for someone else. It's something, just a perspective, and it's really hard to get into the other person's perspective. Right.
And so it's really important, like I want to emphasize to the instructors, like it's really important that I make sure that you actually understand each step. So if I wanted to access, say, this third item, do you know how like I would do that?
It would be array bracket 2 bracket.
Yeah, that's right. So that's also a really important thing, is to like get feedback and like, you know, ask probing questions so that you're actually sure that they understand it at the fundamental level. So I think that's pretty good for like a basic array. Is this helpful for you at all, Penguin?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Because like I know it can be challenging to try to understand some of these concepts because they're seemingly unrelated to real life, and so it kind of makes it hard to explain them in practical terminology. So, oh, that was weird. Basically, once you get past arrays, you said you were kind of familiar with loops.
Yeah, like a for loop. I know that. I just copy paste that, but
yeah, for loops. So it can actually be very tempting in programming to just copy paste things. And for some certain, like once you've gotten into the part where you're actually making a code for different systems and you're just trying to get the code down as fast as possible, it can be very tempting to copy paste. But I think it's really important, especially when you're starting out, to make sure that you don't just copy paste and that you actually type it out. because there's something about like the haptic feedback cycle, which like the physical process of you typing it out actually solidifies an understanding in your own head. Even if you're not understanding it at like that moment, it still helps to create that understanding in the future. So you said you're familiar with Java. Do you remember what the basic for loop looks like in Java?
No, I know there's an I plus plus comma I equals 0, I think.
Yeah. So like,
and then there's one more, but I forgot that one.
Sure. Yeah. For the for loop, there's like what we call the numeric for loop in broad terminology. It's basically just like the basis of the for loop itself is just like you have a numeric counter like 0 or I equals 0, and then you have some condition that you're trying to reach. So in this case, and in most cases, we have like I is less than your array dot length. So this is just once I is as long as I is still less than array dot length, we're gonna keep going through this loop, if that makes sense. And then we also have a what is this called? Someone help me out.
Incrementer.
Yeah, the incrementer. So we have like basically this thing keeps getting applied at the end of each iteration of the loop. So or is that the beginning? It's at the beginning.
Derek?
It's at the end of the loop.
One thing that would be interesting is to do the before that doing the plus equal stuff or plus plus, because it could be confusing otherwise.
Oh yeah, right.
That's
true. That's true. So do you remember any of the operators like this plus plus or?
Yeah, it's like plus 1.
Yeah, so this is basically incrementing it by 1. So we could actually just go over some of the stuff, and this is going to be language specific in a lot of cases, but there are some general rules. So basically, we have the C-like operators, which are like I++, and I'm not sure if I can't remember if it's supported by Java, but there's actually ++I, which
I think so.
That one is kind of confusing. You actually don't really see it that much. But it basically, this is where it's incremented before its evaluation, whereas this is incremented after. Wait, is it increment?
So the first one is evaluated before incrementation, and the other one is the contrary.
Right. Yeah. So don't really worry about that too much. It's kind of like in practical programming, you typically would see this one, I++, or this is also more or less equivalent in some languages to I plus equals 1, which is just you're incrementing by 1. You're adding 1 to this variable. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
They're pretty much synonymous for all intensive purposes. Yeah, so then what are some other operators? Well, you also have I minus minus, right? So this is just decrementing by 1. And you could also, like in Python, there is, I believe, no minus minus or plus plus. You just would have to do I minus equals 1. Oh, shit.
Okay.
So since actually we're trying to go for a more Python style, we'll do it like this. So Java, actually this is kind of something that you don't see a lot in some of the newer languages, like Python. You don't even have this explicit numeric for. We also have a way that's more semantic, meaning like it's more closely related to like actual spoken language. So in Python, you would just do something like for item in items. So what this tells you is like for each iteration of this loop, and basically we're just iterating over this array called items. Well, let's just call it array for consistency. So we're saying for each item in this array, we're going to do this following thing. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
we're going through this entire array, and we're going to call each one of these indexes, each one of these items at these specified indices. We're going to call that an item. And for this scope, are you familiar with scoping at all?
No.
So basically, in programming, there's the concept of scope, which is basically like context. So with a for loop, each evaluation of the current iteration of the loop. Does that make sense? Like for each evaluation of this loop. But I'm really bad at explaining in technical terminology. Basically, as we're going for each one of these items, there is a current context for this item. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So for the first iteration, this item will be this item. For the second iteration, it'll be this item. For the third iteration, it'll be this item. But for simplicity's sake, we're generalizing each iteration, and we're just going to call each one of these items item. And so we can reference items properties like item dot size or item dot shape. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, item dot shape, I don't get that one.
Okay. Well, this is not an actual property. This is assuming that item has a shape and that we can access that property by using a dot. In Python, I believe this is the syntax, and it's basically just saying like this object, like we say that an item is an object, that the property shape of this object, we can access it by using this syntax, and it's going to be for each one of these items that we're accessing the shape of this specific item when we're in the context of this item. Does that make sense? So like we're going to go through each one of these items and we're going to get the shape, and we could even say like print something like that. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
So what the actual output of this loop would be, the actual output would be something like, if the size is a number, we'll just say like 1, 5, 4, 3, or 2. So this would be the output if these were the corresponding sizes of these individual items. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. This is like a terrible way of explaining it, but this is kind of just like off the cuff. So I appreciate you for being patient with me. Does anyone else want to like try to take a crack at helping them understand loops? So how much do you understand loops so far?
I just know to repeat something to a certain amount. Like for the I is less than array.length, it will just display the whole array.
Yeah. And then this is kind of the same concept, just with a different syntax that's more human readable. Like we're basically conceptualizing it, what this does numerically and functionally, into
I think it's called like pseudocode, where it's like more English-based code.
Sure, yeah. Python, in a lot of cases, is very much like pseudocode. This is actual, almost Python syntax. I think it's like this. This would actually work in Python. So this is really cool because Python, the reason why we're choosing Python for our first course is because it's so much, it's relatable because it's so much more like English than a lot of other languages.
Yeah, it's a really good language, I heard.
Yeah. Does anyone else want to kind of add something on loops that might help them understand?
Yeah, sure. So basically, a loop, to be very, very blunt and simple, it's a condition, and while that condition is true, you execute the same code block over and over again. Okay?
Yeah.
So you always like specify like a condition that needs to be true, and every time it's true, it will just execute a code block. So it could be anything basically. And
Okay.
that's like really, really basically that's how loops work in code. And so then you get into specifics where a while loop is the simplest form of a loop, where it's like while the condition, then execute that code block until the condition is not true. And so basically we'll just read the code, execute it, and then check the condition again and do the same thing over and over again until the condition is false. So
Okay.
that's for while loops. For loops are a bit more complicated because they use usually they use like how do you say, an increment, or let's just say a variable that's used in the condition and that's incremented every time. So for example, for each, you will have something that will follow the different elements and go through the array, and once the array has been read, we'll just terminate the condition. But that's for loops. It's a bit more complicated, but very, very basically condition and execution. Those are the two main things to understand when you talk about loops. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, loops. I think we kind of beat that one on the head. I think we should probably give you some more practical experience with that. If we were not so, what's it called? If we were not so crunched on time, like I would try to have you code something, but maybe we'll leave that for if you can come back next week. I might like try to have some other people come in as well and have a more organized like class structure where we actually have like maybe 3 people that we're trying to teach. Because I think this is a good example of like one-on-one teaching, but I think it's going to be a little bit different when there's multiple people. But what I wanted to emphasize is just like the communication and you know, the end goal, right? Like we're just trying to make you understand something, like or help you to understand something. And it's all about the students, right? So with that, is there anything else that you would like to touch on in terms of? So we kind of helped you to understand arrays a little bit more, a little bit on loops. Is there anything else that you feel like I don't know anything about? Like,
real quick, Derek, I wrote like a really quick, easy code. Maybe it might be helpful if I can like just send it to you, or I can screen share it. And one thing I used to do with my students is I'd put up a loop or code, and I'd just tell them, okay, what's going to be the output on each line, so that it would help them kind of visualize how
Okay.
loops work.
Okay, sure. Yeah, if you want to, can you throw up the stream?
Yeah, sure. I think I might have to stop first.
Yeah, you might have to leave my stream. I'll just like everyone join his stream.
Okay. So,
Oops.
let me know when y'all are in.
Okay.
Everyone good? Everyone see the thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right. So, we got a variable declaration here, obviously. And then over here, what do we got here?
An array.
Yep. So, first for loop. What's going to be the first line? And as you tell me what each line is going to be, I'll print it out. I'll write it here on the side.
It will be apple.
Yep.
And then banana. And then orange.
Apple. Banana. Oh, whatever. Okay. And then what about this one?
while x is less than 4, print x. So it'll be 1, 2, 3,
Is it going to be 1, 2, 3?
right? Oh,
Where do we start x at?
0. Oh, so it'll be 0, 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
Yeah, I forgot that.
Awesome. Cool.
Cool.
You've learned arrays now. You look.
Yeah, he's an array expert now.
You are an expert now. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, this website's really good to practice in. And
Yeah, this is actually something that we
This
could
might be
use for the instruction part of things.
yeah, I was gonna say this might be a little bit better for in-class work stuff than Jupyter because like they don't have to install anything; they can just go straight to the URL.
Yeah, that's actually really good. Yeah, that'll be a good resource. Yeah. So just to kind of again address, is there anything else that you think that in that curriculum that you're just like I have no clue about?
No, for the most part, I think I know everything else.
Okay. So I guess this would be a good part if we could actually have you build something, like just a small array program. Can you open up that site? What is it, Turk?
REPL.it. I'll post it in the discussion.
Oh, yeah.
There it is.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. In terms of this is kind of an exception because this is a one-on-one discussion where we know what this person knows. So we know what Penguin knows, and we know that he doesn't know certain subjects. So when it's an actual class environment, we'll definitely need to know to follow a particular order that will help the general student, like for that particular class. And that's where having the entry survey will help us know what people's previous experiences are so that we can better tailor it to the average student. Because sadly, with workshops, it's kind of how you have to tailor it is like for the average, and then like any additional outliers will kind of be addressed by the assistants and like questions asked by the students. So Penguin, are you able to stream in the Discord?
Let me see how.
So on the lower
Oh,
left
the
corner
wire.
where you have your username, right above it, next to where it says voice connected, there's like a computer screen with a little arrow in it.
Yeah, I think I see it now.
Cool.
There
You
you
guys
go.
can see?
Yeah. Can you go to that? Well, can you link that site, Turk?
Yeah, it's
Oh.
up there. It's up in the chat.
Oh, it's up
Can
in
you
the
guys
chat.
see this? Oh, wait, no? Maybe.
Yeah, I can see your screen. Hey,
Okay.
Penguin, can you go into the Skills Lead Comms channel?
He's already got it up.
Oh, he's got it.
looks like.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
It's that link I put up.
Wait, so can you guys see my other, like, web page, or is it only this?
No, I
It's
think
only
it's just
on
showing
Discord.
Discord.
Oh.
You might have to
Yeah.
choose the specific screen that you're sharing.
How
Yeah,
do
so you have to stop streaming first and then.
Yeah, I think you have to stop the stream and then choose the browser.
It doesn't show it.
Maybe is there an option to just share whatever's on your screen instead of a specific application?
Oh yeah.
Oh, it does actually.
Yeah, you can do the entire screen if that works.
Is this fine?
Yeah.
Yep, perfect.
Okay.
Cool.
Can you guys see it now?
Yeah.
Okay. Shoot. It would be like something. No. Why did I forget this?
It's okay.
So, what is print like in terms of what is the function of print?
It displays it on the console
Right.
or terminal. I mean, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or I guess what does the keyword print indicate? Like, besides its actual function, like what type of, I guess,
Thing.
yeah, what
Is
type
it-
of thing is it? Is it a variable? Is it a function? Is it a,
It's a function, isn't it?
right?
Yes.
So, do you remember like how you put the parameters of a function into the function? Like
I
how
don't
do
know
you?
how to do it on Python.
Okay, with
Is
Python,
it like
it's with the
black
parentheses.
it's parentheses.
Yeah, parentheses.
Oh,
Yeah. So then, what are you trying to print?
the array.
Okay. Well, yeah, just try putting the array in then.
Just like that.
Yeah, and then see what happens.
Oh, nothing. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, so that prints the actual array. But what if you wanted to print each one of the indices of the array? Do you know how to do that?
Would you have to do like a loop kind of, and then
Yeah.
display? Yeah.
Yeah, so what type of loop would you use?
For like a
Yeah, for loop is good.
And then in Python it was shoot. Arrays to no. Yeah, I forgot.
Okay.
The first one is the selector that you're going to use for the loop. So it's the first thing you put in. It could be whatever name you want. It could be
Okay.
item. It could be X. Like it doesn't matter.
Item.
Yeah.
And then item to array.
Item in array. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's whatever is like in the structure that you're storing it in. And then with
I'm missing
Python,
it.
you put a little colon after the line to indicate
colon.
that this is the, and then you also need to oh, actually you don't need a colon for the print. The colon
Oh.
just
Unlike Java, you don't need a semicolon or something after each line.
Yeah. But you do need
The
white
colon
space.
here is kind of you need a tab over on line 3
Oh,
because Python is picky about
white
you have to be careful with your spacing. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
Does this look good to you now? Do you think this will?
no.
Wait, why not? Oh yeah, because you're right. So what are you printing now? You're printing for each
The whole array.
for each iteration of the array. You're printing the entire array. So what would you want to print?
Just each number.
Yeah, and so how would you represent each one of those numbers?
Oh.
So you have 4 item in array. So you have 2 variables here in the scope. You have item and array.
Mhm.
What do you think is in that item variable?
Oh, so maybe print item.
Yeah. Yeah, so the item is actually storing like we were talking about the scope. So in each scope of each iteration, the scope will contain the what is it called? The item that you're currently on in that item variable. So now you basically for each iteration you're printing the item for that iteration, if that makes sense. I don't know if that was kind of a terrible way of explaining it, but
Yeah, I get it.
So, okay.
One thing we could do is we haven't done yet is make him modify the array.
Oh yeah. So, do you remember how we were talking about how to access the current what is it called? The current, like a specific index. Do you remember how to do that?
No.
So basically, for each one of these indices of the array, we have a numeric value that we can use to reference that. Now, because we have a for loop in Python, we can actually just use the variable name item to reference that.
So would it be bracket, I believe 0 or something to represent 0?
Yeah, so you could do array bracket 0, array bracket 1 to reference that outside of that context or even inside the context. It doesn't really matter. But that would be the general way to reference a specific array index. So what if you just wanted to print? Well, I see you wanted to have them modify it, but first just try printing like a specific index. So let's say you want to print the 1 from the array. Like how would you do that? How would you do that outside of the for loop?
Would you do maybe not? Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Well, so what function would you use? You would still use the print function, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Try writing a print function after the for loop. Another print function. So like
another one.
Yeah. So you're still in the loop at that point. If you take the white space out, like you take the tab out, yeah, now you're outside of the loop.
Okay.
And so how would you print a particular item of that array using just the array and it like a reference index?
So maybe array. Oops. Array. You have to do like some kind of like bracket or parentheses and then the number after like the line.
Yeah.
So like maybe.
Yeah, brackets. Yeah, brackets is. Okay.
Bracket.
You're close. It's bracket. Yeah.
Oh.
So which one will that print?
It will print out 2. Oh, 1 actually.
No, I think you're right. Actually, Python is still 0 index, right? I'm not remembering incorrectly.
Everything's 0 index.
Yeah. Well, for the most part. Yeah. So it's actually going to be. Yeah, you're right. It's 2. So, now what if we wanted to modify that index? How would like if you wanted to replace 2 with like 5? How would you do that?
Well, I don't know. Maybe previous to it, you'll do something. Maybe something like this. Bracket 2 equals something like 5.
Yeah, try it.
5.
Oh, so you don't need the brackets for this. Oh well, I guess it worked out. You basically made another array that you put in that index. But now if you do it again, it'll just print out 5.
Yeah.
Cool. So, are you kind of getting arrays a little bit more? Like, are you understanding them a little bit more?
It makes a lot more sense than I used to think.
Awesome. So, does anyone else have anything for him in terms of arrays?
Deleting elements inside the array.
Oh, okay.
Is there null in Python?
There's none, which is
Yeah.
basically null, but yeah.
None?
Yeah, so capital N none is going to be your version of null. Do you remember what null means in programming?
No, actually I forgot.
Okay, so it's basically just like there's no value there. Or actually it depends on how you look at it semantically, but for all intents and purposes it's like as if you don't have a value there. So what if you wanted to remove one of the indexes of this or indices of this this array? Like if you wanted to remove one, like how do you think that you could do that?
Maybe for this one you do like 1 none here, and then just do that maybe.
Okay. So it's going to be similar to what you had there before. So basically, you would set. Yeah, there you go. So instead of 5, you could just set it equal to what?
None?
Yeah, and that will actually like basically remove the value from that. It will replace the value with none. And so now, if you try to print that,
None.
yeah, so that means that there's no value there. If you were trying to like compare that with something, like if you were checking for equivalence, do you remember how to check for equivalence?
No.
So like in Java, if you're trying to see if something equals 5, do you remember how to do that? Like, does that make sense?
Maybe like an if statement. If array
Yeah.
1 is something.
Yes.
Like array 1. Oops.
Yep. Good catch.
Equals none.
Sure.
I guess.
So there's one thing. Equals is different from equals equals. And actually, in Python, I believe we would just use is, right? Typically.
Okay, so for is and equal, so equal is the value, and is the reference.
Oh yeah, okay, you're right.
So you would use is for true, none, all that stuff. But if you're comparing value, is equal. But at the beginning, I think it's okay to use equal even if it's for none, right?
I think so.
At the
Yeah.
beginning.
Yeah.
Equal.
Yeah. So then, what are you gonna do if that's true?
Maybe change something to 3, I guess. I don't know. 10.
I mean, that's fine. So there's one thing. Because you're doing an if statement, again, we're going to need the colon at the end of that statement to indicate that you've ended. Not that one. The none. Where the none is.
Just to quickly explain, like what's the thing with colons? It's basically, you know how in Java you have curly brackets that allows you to delimitate like where's the code for that if or that for or whatever. In Python, they wanted to make it pretty, so basically they put a colon after the if statement or the for statement, and they just like indent everything that's inside it per se. So that's why you have a colon there, and that's why you indent stuff. But basically, it's just they didn't like the curly brackets and they wanted to make it pretty. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks a lot cleaner. But yeah. So now, do you want to try? Just try printing the entire array again at the end, like after the if statement.
Oops.
Yeah, and then let's see what happens.
Am I spelling array correctly? Am I?
No, you're good.
Okay.
Yeah, it's perfect. So now you see that we have none, and we also have 10. So that means that the equivalence evaluated to true. So we checked if array index 1 is equal to none, if there's no value there. And yeah, so now we said that's true, so we're going to set array index 2 to 10, and we see that in the output. So
yeah,
awesome, man. I think that's pretty good. Like for not understanding arrays, and now you've done all this like manipulation and removing value. Is there a delete keyword in Python? I can't remember.
Yes, there is. Yes, you can call del, which is the delete keyword.
Yeah.
So you can do something like, I'll put it in the skill leads comms. So you can do something like something like that. You could do that.
del array 0.
and see what happens.
Okay. Oops. And then should I print it after? Just in...
Yeah.
Yeah, you can print the array after and see what happens.
So we'll see before, and then we'll see after.
Mhm.
So you see that actually everything got shifted, right?
Yeah.
So we deleted the first index of that array, and now...
Oh, because 0, yeah.
So now everything is... Now, if you try to refer to none, it's no longer array index 1, it's array index 0.
So if I do it like previous to it, it shouldn't work.
Yeah, it'll actually throw the entire thing off, and it won't print that... It shouldn't
It won't do
evaluate to
this.
10, right? So try running it and see what happens.
Oh?
Wait. Oh, because you still set array 1 equals to none after we deleted it. So if you did that before, like if you move the array 1 equals to none before the delete, then it shouldn't work.
Array 1. Oops. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, now we don't have a 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty
Yeah.
cool, huh?
That's because of this.
So yeah, I don't know how much time we want to spend kind of going through other stuff, but do you feel like you have a better understanding of at least some of the basic stuff now?
Yeah, definitely.
Like
You
this is
know,
this is pretty short in terms of like our actual workshop's going to be closer to like 3 hours, so you would probably learn a lot more. But I just wanted to kind of like see if this would be an effective way. I think especially having that. Like, what did you think about working with the IDE?
It was interesting.
Yeah. Do you think that's a good way to like? Do you think you got a lot more out of that than just trying to like coach you through it through?
Yeah,
The
definitely
PowerPoint.
hands-on.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that's probably going to be true for a lot of people. Yeah, we might want to integrate that into the lecture itself too. Like, kind of have like little things like this before we actually do the exercises.
I think just during the lecture, demonstrating examples in the stream with that interpreter would be interesting for students.
Sure, yeah, I think so too. Yeah, definitely. I think that that's a good point. I was just reading the chat. Does anyone else want to say something?
I don't have anything.
Okay.
Quick question actually. Penguin, I know we use a lot of terms like function, parameter, variable, etc. Was there any point where you felt lost by the terms? Do you feel that using the terms helped or made it a little more confusing to understand?
It was a little more confusing, but like I kind of understood. You know, I can like assume like parameters is this brackets, everything inside and stuff.
So if we had like a cheat sheet or something when you're starting out, would that help you? Like when someone says a term, you could just like reference that, or would you prefer more,
Maybe like
I guess, practical real life terms? Like instead of calling them arrays, like or we could call them like collections, sets, like something more tangible, I guess.
I guess it depends on the person. Like for me, I'm okay with like kind of obscure like references. But like maybe some people would like pseudocode, like raise or something equals something like real life, something more tangible.
Sure.
So like for me, I'm fine with it.
Okay.
Cool.
Maybe I think the idea of a cheat sheet would be a good idea for people for the different stuff. It would be interesting to have real life examples attached to each concept.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, honestly, this was just like this is more to emphasize on the fact of like how to be adaptive rather than anything. Like it's not like this is I'm not saying that this is the way that we should teach. This is just like with no materials, like the point was to emphasize that with no materials we still may able to meet someone where they're at and like still be able to help them. So yeah, like this is by no means like I think a good example of like what the actual lectures will be like.
Oh, I mean, yeah, definitely. But I mean, the notes we've taken is not to like tell you that you're doing a bad job. It's mostly like things we've noticed that may help in the like real life situation.
Right. Yeah, I was just explaining that, you know, this is not I'm not positing that we should make the lecture like this. Like this was kind of more just to demonstrate you know, the ability to be adaptive. I think is one of the most important parts of being a teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of want to make like have us come up with something that's more concrete for the next meeting, and then having like a group of people that may be able to like almost like a mini pilot, like that could actually be our mini pilot, our first one at least, and go through the actual process of like with whatever we have at that time, even if it's not polished yet, just go through and step through each part of the process that we've delineated, and kind of just see what works and what doesn't, I guess. And that, it doesn't have to be just me. It could be other people if anyone wants to volunteer, and we could actually take turns walking through different parts, or if the people that are responsible for the different individual parts want to do their individual part, you know, we'll figure that out. But basically, I would, if possible, like to have at least some basic slides and like some concepts for like how to present the material, and then we already have more or less the exercises. We could probably even use what we have now, even if no improvements are made before next week, and then just like have that part to in a very condensed form. Like it doesn't have to be, you know, the full 3-hour workshop, but just kind of a dry run with some of the concepts with people at different places and their understanding.
Yeah, I mean, sounds good, man.
Cool. Thank you, Penguin, for coming. I know this was very disorganized, and I apologize if it was not very polished. You're kind of the first person that's interacted with us as a student, and we were just trying to get a feel for it more or less. We'll probably have you, if you want to participate in the actual workshop when it comes out, like we can probably get you in the first one or whichever one you're able to get into, and you may be able to pick up more in-depth hands-on experience there. Feel free to ask any questions too, like if you have any questions about general programming, or if you feel like there was something that we may have touched on that you're not, like looking back, you're not actually that clear on, just let us know.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks a lot for coming.
Thank you. Yeah,
it helped.
This was
I think it's helped a lot.
nice.
Yeah, thanks for coming, man. I think you did great.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for showing up.
Well, I'm gonna go. Bye.
All right, Penguin. See you later.
See ya.
Yeah. So yeah, I think there's a lot to learn from that interaction. One thing being that prepare for stuff. Another thing being like things are not always going to go according to plan. Because I didn't realize that he didn't have the desktop version of Discord, so I assumed that he would just be able to immediately connect to the stream. I even like made sure that he downloaded Jupyter Notebook beforehand. So last night I had him download it, but we didn't even end up using it, and that was not the thing that I should have had him download. I should have had him download Discord. Also didn't know where he was. Like I thought that he had no programming experience at all. So
I mean, it was a good experience.
Yeah.
I had one question though. I'm interested in you guys' input. One of the things, and I kind of struggle with this in my own job, is like as a teacher. You know, the first few weeks of the course are filled with a lot of like students. Like everything's just new. They can't really articulate what they're not understanding.
Yeah.
Um, and it can sometimes feel like no matter what you do between switching between like explaining things, giving code examples, and drawing stuff out, like it just doesn't seem to be clicking with them, and it just kind of sometimes feels like you're just giving them the answer because these things are so basic, right? You can only break it down so far.
Yeah.
I'm interested to hear like any ideas you guys might have of working with like when students are struggling like that, how to identify like where their problems lie, and obviously a fair amount of it is experience, but
Yeah.
like I guess what do you do when a student is like they're not getting it and you can see them kind of like shutting down and not wanting to keep doing it?
Yeah.
Maybe like sometimes that may sound a bit weird, but sometimes it's better to just move on and try something else. Because
Okay.
if people get like in a really frustrated state of mind, it's hard to make them progress. And the more you try, the more they feel frustrated. And like, I don't know. Sometimes it's better to say, you know what, we'll revisit that subject next time or whatever, and we'll move on to something else. But yeah.
Yeah. I think another important point is also there's a difference between and I think will be more clear in the next meeting. Like, it's so different, you don't think about it, but teaching in a group versus teaching on a more close basis, like a smaller group or like one-on-one, you don't get the same communication level. So I think, and you probably remember this from like any formal studies that you've had, but like if someone doesn't get something, there's a big chance that some other people also don't get the same thing if they're in a very similar stage of their understanding. So it's important to ask, like, hey, like how many of you guys don't understand this? Like if someone raises their hand and is like, I don't get this, then you're like, oh, well, how many people don't understand this? And then if there's like half the class that still doesn't understand it, then you probably need to try to re-explain it in a different way. It may not even be that one person. It just may be that like the curse of knowledge, right? You just it seems so basic to you that you can't think of a way to break it down fundamentally. But if you try to look from the other person's perspective, which can be extremely hard, right? But if you try to like remember when you were in their position, like of your understanding, and try to remember what helped you, I think that helps a lot too. Um, at least that's what I try to think about whenever I have a problem that someone doesn't understand.
For sure.
I mean, otherwise, for explaining stuff, I think real life analogies, like for example, for the array and like the Pokemon example, I think is a really good one.
Yeah,
I think can definitely help them get the concepts.
especially if it's thematic. Like if there's a consistent theme that you're using to reference that explains basically the whole, like another system basically. So another system that they know, if you can compare that and like make an analogy with that, then it's a lot simpler to explain it because you're kind of using some experience that they already have.
Yeah, you're using the same type of language, like the same style of language. So the metaphor that they construct in their head, they don't actually have to know the actual way to describe it. They could just say like some, in this case it's Pokemon. They could just say like the Pokemon thing, and then they kind of
Yeah.
can visualize it through the game.
Yeah. Oh, what the heck? What just happened there?
I don't know.
Anyways, yeah, I think this was pretty good overall. I hope that me making a fool of myself trying to explain some stuff was helpful.
It was.
Yeah, like you really don't realize how hard it is to explain things in a way that makes sense to someone until you actually start doing it and like in a certain context. Like luckily this penguin actually understood some basic concepts. So I had a little bit of an easier time to like bridge the gap. But a lot of times you're probably going to have people that just have no prior knowledge And to bridge that gap is very difficult because you're basically talking about like how do you, because language, people think about language as just being straightforward. Like if you know English, then you can understand anything. And even if you gave them the terminology, what's not there is the experience, because the experience associated with the language is almost more profound than the language itself. So
Yeah.
it's like you have to have them understand that in a way that makes sense to them, and like basically give them a synonym for the same thing. Like, oh, well, you know about Pokemon, so if I have a Pokedex and that's an array, and like I have a bunch of Pokemon in my Pokedex, they're all Pokemon. They're all related. They're all of a related class of items. So like that's the analogy you try to make, where it's something that they have experience with, like Pokemon in a Pokedex rather than items in an array. Yeah, I think that's good stuff, guys.
Yeah,
I read some of
definitely.
the comments in the chat. I actually wish that some of this stuff would have been said out loud, because in the recording it's going to be kind of hard to like cross reference.
Okay.
But it's okay. Like I know I was kind of like rambling, but you guys should just feel free to, like, if at any point you want to make a note. I should have been paying attention to chat too, but you guys can jump in at any point. Like it's not a one-man show. Yeah, but you guys made some good points about some stuff that probably could be explained a little bit better.
Yeah. Also, I think the other thing is there's a clear distinction, for me at least, between the concepts and the implementation.
Sure.
Like you can definitely understand how loops work without being able to write a loop.
Sure.
So I think like for example, it seems that I think at one point he seemed a bit confused with the colon stuff, and how to put stuff actually inside the code block for the for loop or the if statement.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but he understood basically how it worked. He just didn't know how to write it, kind of thing.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's
So
what
I
I mean.
think that thing is one of those, in the early days, you have to just tell them, like, this is how it is. This is just how you have to do it. And then once when you start explaining scopes, then it makes more sense how to do it. But I do remember for my education, some of the stuff, like my teachers just said, like, don't worry too much about the semantics of it. Just do it this way and we'll get back to it later.
Yeah.
So sometimes you do have to, like, the scopes thing is like definitely one of those things. You have to just like say, this is how you do it. You just have to do it this way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think we made good headway with what we got into his head. At least he understands arrays now. I would. He said that he was good on some of the other things, but I'm not 100% sure, because it seemed like he was having trouble. Like, well, it might have just been the syntax too tripping him up, but I think he didn't understand like how to write a function and put its parameters in at first. Like he was confusing that with like array. What is it called? Like referencing an index of an array.
Yeah. I
But-
mean, that could just also be the terminology
Yeah.
for letting him maybe thinks the index means the same thing ubiquitously.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say, but yeah, I guess just
mm.
go ahead.
Yeah, just one thing. I think it's still someone who has written and read code before. I mean, like he doesn't know much, but he still understands a couple of things, and you can see that there's some like experience behind it. I think it
Yeah.
would be interesting to have someone who's never, ever written or read a line of code in their life, because
Yeah.
that may be what we are up against.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I think it was kind of on me, but also, like, I thought he said that he had no previous experience. When I talked to him before, he made it sound like he was. Maybe it's just because I used the word complete beginner, and for him, a complete beginner is still someone who maybe has some understanding, but like just doesn't code currently. I don't know.
That's what I was trying to get at last week when I was asking about like experience with polling, because like just the way people interpret questions really skews the data you get back.
Yeah.
From it, right?
Yeah, that's true. And I thought about that after I talked to him, because I did clarify later. Like, I just found out yesterday that, because each time I talked to him, he gave off the impression that he had more experience than he mentioned the first time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it was just like he didn't want to come across as like completely new, which is fine. I think
Yeah.
a lot of
I mean, we can still have him in. I'm pretty sure like a lot of people will fit his profile.
Sure.
Like they've
Yeah.
gotten an interest, they tried something, didn't work, and then they gave up on it, right?
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
we need to have both like his type of like knowledge and also like someone who like just want to try it out because they don't know what to do, right?
Sure. Yeah. No, that was my intention, was to get. I thought when we talked, I thought he was a complete beginner. Like, I asked him like, "What's your experience with coding?" And he was like, "Almost none." And so I thought that almost none meant like actually almost none, but he didn't tell me he had taken like previous like academic courses before. That's a big in my mind, that's a big difference than like almost no experience. But yeah, it's just, yeah, it's a matter of clarification. I'll be more thorough with vetting the next people. I'd like to have at least one person that doesn't have any experience at all.
So I was gonna suggest, I don't know what everyone's schedule is like on today. I know we're all in different time zones. How would you guys feel about maybe if we go into the general chat, post someone who might be interested in like maybe like a quick like 30, 40 minute like rundown, just basic stuff, teach them how to do like arithmetic operations in Python, and then we could use that as like a kind of a guinea pig run.
Sure. I mean, I'm not sure how everyone's schedule looks. I think my schedule might be a little bit full today, but if you guys want to take that into your own hands and work on that, I'm perfectly fine with trying to support that as much as I can. I'll try to be there as much as I can. Um, but yeah, I mean, if you guys feel free to do like whatever you guys think is necessary to like get the information we need. I think go ahead and do it. Like, you don't need my okay necessarily. Uh, like, this is all of our project. Like, this is not just I want this to be kind of decentralized in nature. Like, we're all just people working on the same project kind of thing. I'm just facilitating it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the other thing is important is we can't pull them into the channel, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's kind of tough with the permissions, but I think if I'm available, like if you message me and you need to pull someone into a channel, I can pull them into like, we'll probably put them in the skills voice, because I think that, well, actually, so I need to make a role for the basic skills skills workshop member, and that will give them access to the skills voice channel. I just haven't made that role yet, but, and then that way, if you guys find someone, edit skills voice permissions for the skills lead role in the skills voice channel. What? Yeah, but the problem is they need the permissions for the general Discord as well. Otherwise, they can't move them. Like, when you move people, you need permissions for both that target channel and the source channel. Yeah, so I'd have to give them like general moderator permissions, which I just can't. I can't do that. Yeah, but if you guys need any of that like logistical stuff, I can add a role, and then that way, if you guys find some people that are interested, we can just go ahead and add the role, and they'll have access only to the channels that they need. And then you don't even have to worry about pulling them in. You could just have them go into skills voice, and do whatever you want to do with the, trying to get information and stuff like that. I'll do that now, actually, just so we have that, and because we're gonna need it in like the next week or so, anyways. But besides that, does anyone have any other concerns?
Not concerns. Yeah, I was just gonna say I think Turksticks wanted to help with the lecture material, and so what I wanted to do was make something like that, like wiki doc thing that Tipush made, and just like go through all of those Pokemon metaphors, like actually figure out what order
Sure.
we should try and explain programming stuff through these metaphors, and hopefully have like some good slides or images or stuff like actual like content queued up so that we could try and run people through it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I just shared a slideshow I'm working on right now. It's called Basic Terms. On the very last slide, I'm like kind of working on like animating the names popping up. So the first three, like the string name, function type, var level, like those would just show up automatically. Then we could like, kind of quiz the people, like, okay, like what would this be? What would this be? What would this be? Etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's sick.
Yeah. So, do you need anything on my end to do that kind of wiki thing? I think you could probably ask T-Push, or I can't remember who made. Was it Exa that made that?
It's Exa. Yeah, Exa made the read the docs thing.
Yeah, if you wanna, if Exa can help you with that, you may be able to get that set up faster.
Awesome.
Yeah, cool guys. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and set up that role. But other than that, does any last minute concerns or questions for this meeting?
Nope.
No.
Okay. So just to wrap up, basically next week same time, I'm gonna try to have like 5 people that hopefully have different levels of experience, and we'll try to use the same hour to hour and 30 minutes to like kind of run them through whatever we have at that time of our actual course material. And this can be done in any way. Like we can figure out. It's probably best if we figure out beforehand who wants to do what parts. But it would be nice if different people could do different parts, so we have different people to like give feedback, I guess. And yeah, I think we can learn a lot from that, and it'll kind of help us. I'm gonna have the entry and exit survey set up before then, and then we can actually use that to format the lecture, and also to get feedback on that lecture that meeting that we have. So yeah, I mean, thanks again for coming, guys. I appreciate you guys being here again, and dedicating an hour and 30 minutes of your time for something that you don't have to do. So if there's anyone else who wants to say anything, feel free. Otherwise, this meeting's pretty much over. Thanks.
Clap up.
Yeah, maybe one thing. Probably, yeah, send the recording to Exa and like other people that haven't been able to attend it. But that's about it.
Oh yeah. Well, definitely. I'm about to end the recording now, and then I'm gonna immediately upload it to our meetings folder.
Okay, perfect then.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
And we're closed.